WATD presents John Paul, the Car Doctor. All things automotive. Have questions? Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
And good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. My name's John Paul, the Car Doctor, here to help you with your car problems every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock, just like we've been doing for the past, 4+ years, I think, on 95.9 WATD. So, you know what to do. If you want to give us a call, 781-837-4900. No guest for this hour. We've been traveling this week, so I'm always a little concerned when I'm back in Massachusetts, need to set up we'll call it, for want of a better word, home studio. But, just to make sure everything's going to work. Because, electronics doesn't always work the way it's supposed to. Doing my best Vice Grip Garage impersonation this past couple of days. I mentioned last week we had a death in the family, and my wife flew home to spend some time with her sister, and I drove home. And if you're a fan of Vice Grip Garage, they usually start off something like, here's this, 1959 Chevy pickup truck. Will it run and drive 800 miles from, Georgia to Tennessee or wherever Derek lives? Well, it was sort of like my trip. Will my untested 2015 Volkswagen Beetle convertible run and drive nearly 1,750 miles home from Englewood, Florida to Dennisport, Massachusetts? And it did. And I did it in 2 days, which I normally don't do. Normally I take 3 days to do that trip. First time I've ever done a trip that long by myself. Normally, if I do a long distance trip, it could be with a member of the Motor Press Association, but generally it's with my wife, and we usually do 3 days because usually 8 hours or so in a car is plenty for her. She's usually about ready to, she needs a break. We'll put it that way. So, but I did it in 2 days. The first day I left Englewood, Florida. If you don't know where that is, the biggest town near us is Venice. It's sort of halfway between Fort Myers and Sarasota, I guess would be a good way to describe it. And I purposely stay off of Route 95 as much as I can. I prefer to take sort of the trucker route, I guess. I just find it easier. The driving tends to be easier. So that first day, drove quite a bit, got up to someplace in Georgia, and stopped at Bucees. Now, if you don't know what a Bucees is, if you ever see one a sign for it by the side of the road, you need to check it out. It's a gas station with 120 gas pumps. So it's a big gas station. And this one apparently was brand new. And it also is a store that's probably about 3/4 of the size of a Walmart, maybe. It's big. And it sells everything. Food, clothes, snacks, real food. It's quite an amazing store. And I guess because it was so new, there was literally a line to get in, which I was surprised. I didn't think that would be the case, but they sort of have almost their own little ramp getting in and out of the highway. Came in. I will say, as expensive as gas is, it was the cheapest gas I bought. I think it was $3.29 or $3.39 a gallon. So that was my primary purpose, to fill up with gas. I wasn't really looking to save money on gas. And I'm like, I've been watching gas prices for 30 years. I'm like, I got to go check out what this Bucees is. And there were people taking pictures with the Bucees mascot. It's a crazy place. So stopped at the Bucees. and got gas and had to almost kind of wait. I mean, every pump had people at it. So that's how busy they are. Who knows how long, how big the tanks are. But it was a pretty amazing place. And there was another one I didn't stop at because I didn't need gas. But the Volkswagen did pretty well. I've always been a little bit suspicious of this car because it has a hint of a coolant leak. You don't see it. It doesn't drop down, but you smell what smells like hot coolant, which is pretty common on Volkswagens. The water pumps tend to seep just a little bit to the point where one of the aftermarket water pump manufacturers, they actually almost have kind of a drip tray, the bottom of the water pump. So I was a little cautious. So I spent a fair amount of time watching the temperature gauge. It has a temp light, but it also has a temperature gauge. Never veered. It was 194 degrees for 1,800 miles. Never changed. It was always the same temperature. So that was good. Checked the coolant level. Never moved. It was good. To prepare for the trip, I brought an extra gallon antifreeze, extra quart of oil. The 1.8 liter and 2 liter Volkswagen Audi engines tend to use some oil. Checked it about halfway through the trip. It was full. Checked it when I got here. It was full. Didn't use any oil. But always like to have that extra quart of oil in the car, extra gallon of coolant in the car, just in case something should happen. I used to try to keep a tool box or tool bag or something. I've gone to a tool roll and did it sort of the cheaper way. Went to Harbor Freight, bought this vinyl tool roll thing. Actually works out pretty good. I have some metric sockets, wrenches, screwdriver, the 6-in-1 screwdriver or 4-in-1 adjustable wrench, pliers, stuff like that. Extra fuses, a test light, just in case I'm looking for a problem. So that's sort of my emergency kit, along with a battery jump pack. And this one was the Nebo jump pack air compressor. So it's a combination unit. It doesn't take up as much room. And all of this stuff fits in sort of a gym bag kind of thing, or a little duffel bag. This one happens to be a little AAA duffel bag. But it kind of fits, everything fits in there, along with anybody who's ever tried to change a flat tire knows the lug wrenches aren't good enough. So I actually threw a little piece of pipe in there so I can use it kind of as a cheater bar for the little lug wrench that's on here. I'm glad I checked the spare tire before I left because it was flat from sitting in the car for 11 years. I guess I should have checked that more often. I checked the tire pressure constantly, but I guess I didn't check that. I did put a little bit more air in the tires. It calls for 30 pounds or 32 pounds, I think. I think I put 35 or 36. Figured I could appreciate the little bit better fuel economy and maybe a little bit, deal with a little bit firmer ride. Fuel economy was quite good. Somewhere between 37 and almost 40 miles to the gallon on a car that doesn't normally get that good of gas mileage. I think EPA is like 33 or 4 or something like that. So pretty good fuel economy. Stayed the speed limit the whole way. A couple miles an hour over or under, but usually right around the speed limit. I'm always afraid of Virginia, where if you're more than 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, it becomes a real issue. You end up having to go to court or send someone to court. So, no. Do the speed limit. Pretty uneventful ride, except for lots of dead critters by the side of the road. Lots of deer in Pennsylvania. Armadillos in the Carolinas. Lots of kind of roadkill, I guess. So, but overall, pretty good. That first drive, I went up through Charlotte and took the express lane that it doesn't go around Charlotte, but there's a toll express lane. It was shockingly expensive. I looked at my Easy Pass account once I got here, and I think that 15 miles of toll roads was something like $25. Um, but on the other hand, it did save a fair amount of time. And normally, what we would do is we would stop somewhere in South Carolina, get a hotel for the night. I decided to try to go a little bit further because it was earlier in the day. It was probably only 4 o'clock when I went by the hotel that we would normally stay at. So I'm like, I'm by myself. What am I going to do? Sit in a hotel room and stare out the window? So I drove a little bit further, maybe another couple hours. Got to North Carolina. I think a town called Statesville. Went into a hotel, and it might have been like a Hilton or something. I said, "Yeah, looking for a room for the night," and they said it'd be $189. I said, "You got anything cheaper?" And apparently, whoever owned this hotel owned 3 other hotels in the area, and said, "Well, the such and such is this much, and our Comfort Inn, which is only about a half mile down the road, is $99 a night." I'm like, Comfort Inn sounds like it'd be perfect. Got there, AAA discount, took another $10 or $15 off the price. So I think with the tax, it was like $89. So then in the morning, left around 6:15. And normally, why we take 3 days is because the house has been closed up for months. Come here and turn the water on, and clean up, and make sure everything is supposed to work the way it's supposed to work. And we got here, and my wife got here, and I think she got here on Monday, and I think her nephew might have followed her down, and turned the water on, waited for the water heater to fill up, turned the power on for the water heater. Everything was fine, no problems. Everything worked the way it was supposed to. She did this sort of little cleanup stuff that needs to be done. So it didn't really make any difference if I showed up at 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night. My GPS said, I'll be there between 7 and 7:30 until I got to Connecticut. And I don't know about you, but is the traffic ever reasonable in Connecticut? I don't think so. I think Connecticut added another hour and a half to my trip. Got here about 9:30, I think. But it was a pretty uneventful ride. No car crashes to report, nothing bad. So it was all good. One thing I did notice while I was on the road is there are a fair amount of electric vehicles on the highways. Now, I'm trying to look at license plates to see, did they come from far out of state? A lot of Teslas, absolutely. I would say probably the number one electric vehicle you see on the road is a Tesla of one form or another, either the Model 3 or the Model Y. Just a lot of Teslas. And some charging stations I noticed right up the street from me now, they're putting a charging station in at a bank, which I was a little surprised, I guess, but there it is. Other than that, again, pretty uneventful ride. Got here, car was disgustingly dirty when I got here from just, nearly 1,800 miles or 1,700 and change miles of road dirt. So gave it a good wash when I got here. All back together. The older car that we keep here has spent a little bit of time here and at my nephew's house. Seemed to be fine. Seemed to be doing what it's supposed to do. The plan is at some point, the car that I drove up here will stay here, and then we'll look for something different and a little bit bigger to be our car to go back and forth with. And the Hyundai, which is now currently living in Florida under a car cover. And hopefully hurricane season is nice to it. So there we go. A lot of things going on this weekend, or in the next couple of weeks, actually. New Hampshire Dragway, NHRA weekend going on. If you're heading up there or you're up there, if you happen to be going by the announcement announcer booth. Say hello to Brian Loans. Brian's been on the program a couple times, and he is the NHRA announcer. So, give him a shout and say hello to him. Somebody said to me, "What do you bring for food on a long road trip like that?" My wife packed me a few things, but it's more peanut butter crackers, like the Nabisco pre-made ones, beef jerky, and Red Bull. I really would have preferred the Ocean energy drink, but Red Bull was fine. But so there you go. Also, I got an email from Rob up at 128 Cycles. He's got a couple of vintage motorcycles for sale. But if you're up that way, swing into 128 Cycles. Check out their Cycle Cafe Museum. It's really neat, and it keeps getting added to, so certainly worth looking at. If you're in Brookline, the Lars Anderson Auto Museum on Flag Day is going to have Corvette Day, so that's always worth going to. The Bay State Auto Show, the one that takes place in Framingham, where we talked to the folks that set that up, that's going to be taking place on the 21st. That's a good show because it's mostly all cars from New England and stuff, antique things that I've never heard of, kind of older than cars that, not that interest me, but cars that I know about. And I like looking at cars that, they can be from, as far back as the late 40s and 50s. I have some basic understanding. When they get older than that, I get a little lost because I don't know them well enough. I don't know the makes and models well enough, where the cars are the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. I know those cars a little bit better, so I like seeing those. Also on Father's Day at the Newport Car Museum is Father's Day. There's a Father's Day special. Dads get to go for free with one adult ticket, so dad and the kid or whatever can go to the Newport Car Show. My nephew's oldest niece last year asked me to take her to a car museum, and we went to one in Hyannis called the Toad Inn. It's pretty tired, but it's interesting at the same time. Guy owns the cars that are in it. They're in sort of this old barn, fallen down barn kind of thing. All the cars seem to have some story that goes with them. It was probably really pretty good back 10 years ago. It's kind of not as good as it used to be, but still, for $10 or whatever it costs to go see it, worth going. But the Newport Auto Museum is a beautiful place. It's like an art museum inside. No ropes, though, so you can get right up to the cars and look at the cars. And actually, I think next weekend they have what they call their Hoods Up weekend. So every car has a hood up, so you can see the engines and check out what's there. Always a good thing to look at. And on Father's Day, the Hyannis Car Show takes place, and that is a huge event in downtown Hyannis. They close the whole main street, and there's hundreds of cars that are parked there and literally tens of thousands of people that show up. And Matt Pitta, who is an old radio guy who now works kind of doing the car show thing, but plus some other stuff, he asked whether I could do my program from there. And we might try that. I don't know how Jesse feels about that. How do you feel about remote broadcast, Jesse?
I love it.
Do you? All right. Well, you love it because always make sure you have a backup program just in case when all things go bad.
I mean, in all reality, you're doing a remote program every week, so
I am, but not with. I'm in kind of a fixed environment, not out on a sidewalk on a card table.
Oh, that's true. That's where things can get a little bit tricky.
Yeah, and typically with remote equipment, it's now all cell phone based. And the last time I tried to use my cell phone during this car show, the cell phone network was so overwhelmed, nothing worked. So even though there's a tower that you can literally see, So I'm going to try to see if somebody get me a hardwired connection to the card table or wherever it is I'm going to be. So we're going to work on that. That should be kind of fun in its own scary way. So I may need a network engineer to help me. So
I'll see if I can find a guy.
Yeah. Well, there's always Larry. Larry's pretty good with that stuff. So
Larry's a legend.
Yeah. It's funny. I met Larry years and years ago. I was doing a remote broadcast at Sullivan Tire in Rockland, and I don't even remember. It must have been on WJDA radio or something. And when I was done with my broadcast, WATD was coming in to do their broadcast, and Larry came over and kind of looked at my equipment, which was hooked up to phone lines, and I think WATD was using a Marty, which is a radio transmitter kind of thing, and I was using phone lines hooked up through a Comrex box thing, and he just kind of looked at it and said, but he was very polite and very nice, and I like Larry, and that was probably the first time I ever met him, and he actually gave me a little bit of advice at the same time. So it was a good meeting. So kind of enjoyed that. Why don't we take a break, pay some bills? If you would like to join us, our phone number is 781. What's our phone number? Our phone number is 781-837-4900.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's the one. And my phone just dinged, and apparently Home Depot was out delivering me something. So there we go. Sorry about the ding in the background.
It was still pleasant.
It was pleasant? Okay. All right. Let's take that break. We'll be right back. You'll listen to Car Doctor.
Even car.
Or not.
Sorry, carry on.
You're listening to the Car Doctor program, 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at AAA.com/join. That's AAA.com/join.
Big color, bigger savings. Sherwin-Williams Super Sale is here. Get 40% off paints and stains June 5th through the 11th with prices starting at $30.89. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea just got harder with Twisted Tea Extreme. The hard iced tea taste you know and love, but with an 8% kick of alcohol. Twisted Tea Extreme is made with real brewed tea, goes down smooth, and brings your daytime drinking to the next level. Just look for the bright yellow cans in the cooler and get ready to dial up the fun. Big flavor, extreme kick. Twisted Tea Extreme. Keep it twisted!
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
Won't you step into the light?
Hi, I'm Dan Chauvin. Step into the light and tune in to Twilight Showcase Radio, hosted by Sandy Stride and Keith James on 95.9 WATD and 95.9WATD.com. Search for Twilight Showcase on Facebook and visit twilightshowcase.org.
Twilight Showcase, tonight from 8 to 10 on 95.9 WATD. Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. Some of the questions that came in this week, and yes, I still, even though I was on the road for 2 days in a row, and when I got here, the third day was a little hectic, and you know how it is. I still tried to answer all the different questions that come in during the week. In fact, somebody who writes to me pretty regularly said, you never seem to take a day off. I do once in a while. I do take a day off. I take time off. I might not take a whole day off, but I take time off. So I try to answer people's questions. If you have a question and you want to give us a call or send us a text, we haven't done that in a long time. I think Jesse still knows how to do text messages. I don't know, maybe. But 781-837-4900 if you want to send us a text or give us a call. That's how you do it. Phone lines are open. Person says, I listen to your program every week. I find it interesting and informative. I just traded my 2022 Hyundai Tucson Limited Hybrid for a new 2026 model. I really like the Tucson. Our family has owned 6 of them over the years. Wow. 2026 has one issue that drives me crazy. I use a bike rack, and to put the car in reverse, I have to go through a 5-step procedure. Every time I shut off the automatic, I have to shut off the automatic braking system. Otherwise, the car won't back up with the rack attached. The setting resets every time the car is turned off. Is there any way to permanently disable this? And what would happen if I were towing a trailer on a long trip? Well, I looked at service information, came up with nothing. I looked at the owner's manual, and according to the owner's manual, there is no permanent way to disable this system. It's part of the rear automatic braking system, so basically if it sees something in the electronic sensors, it's going to apply the brakes. And it defaults to on every time the vehicle is restarted. It can be annoying, certainly, but it's probably designed that way for safety, and I bet liability too. When it comes to towing, and I don't know this with the Tucson, but I know this with most vehicles that have the ability to tow anything. When you plug a trailer hitch wiring harness in, it typically disables things like backup cameras sometimes, automatic starts where the car shuts off at a light. It won't do that if you're towing. Some people will plug a trailer light test plug into to trick the system. It's a workaround. It's not a real fix. There probably is some way with the Hyundai scan tool to be able to go in and disable it, but you're basically going in and reprogramming. So I don't think so. Somebody has a 2015 Honda Odyssey with 100,000 miles on it. Aside from a timing belt, it's been well maintained by their longtime mechanic. They say, I know it will need brakes and possibly rotors. The brakes were replaced in 2020 at 60,000 miles with Honda parts. In 2022, it's 78,000 miles, so only 18,000 miles and 2 years later. The brakes were replaced again, this time with Wagner parts. In 2025, at 94,000 miles, so what, not a lot of miles later, they were told it would need brakes again at about 6,000 miles. So 22,000 miles out of another set of brakes. They said the brake pads were down to 4 millimeters. I drive less than I used to, but my driving style has not changed much. Is it normal to go through brakes and rotors this quickly, and how can you get more life out of them? And are there specific parts to be used? As a general rule, you can usually get 2 sets of brake pads out of 1 set of rotors, depending on how you drive. If you're somebody who's very aggressive, brake rotors can go out around. By the time you resurface them, you're taking away more metal. The metal is what dissipates the heat. Dissipating the heat is what keeps the brake rotors from going out around. So when I do brakes, if I do them myself, which is 99% of the time, I'll always do rotors and pads together because cheaper, get it done that way, get it out of the way and not have to worry about it. They say that driving hasn't changed, but how old was this again? This was a 2015, so it's a 10-year-old vehicle. So maybe the traffic conditions have changed. Maybe you're encountering more stop-and-go driving because there's more people on the road wherever you live. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe, although you say your habits haven't changed, maybe you become a more cautious driver, so you're riding the brake a little bit more. And maybe that's what's shortening brake life a little bit. Could be. As far as brake parts, I've had good luck with Wagner parts. They said they used Wagner at one point. The brakes I put on the Hyundai last year-ish, I think it was last year, were power stop components. They came as a kit, pads, rotors, everything. They were probably half the price of the original equipment ones. Quality-wise, I thought they were pretty good. And the rotors were supposed to be rust-resistant. My experience in the past, rust-resistant rotors are rust-resistant for like a month. These are seemingly doing pretty well. I mean, I look at the car after it sits for, what can sit for weeks sometimes, maybe a very light brownish rust on them, and I live relatively close. I mean, I live across the street from a creek, so I live relatively close to the water, and it's Florida and it's humid. So, but that's where the car is sitting now, and we'll see what the rotors look like when I get there. Also, it's important when you do brake work to make sure you clean all the rust off of everything, brake caliper slides, make sure everything's lubricated to where it should. Anything that causes the brakes to stick a little bit can cause the brake rotors to wear. I didn't know how to answer this question. Person said, they bought my 2015 Volkswagen Jetta new and only have 34,000 miles on it. When I took delivery, the dealer told me to use only 93 octane fuel. It's hard even to find 93 octane. However, the fuel door says 87 octane. For the past 11 years, I've been using top tier brand gasoline. With gas prices where they are, is it okay to switch to 87 octane now? Yes, you could have switched to 87 octane the first time you filled up with gas. If the gas door says 87, it's 87. Using top-tier gas is good, especially on engines that can be prone to carbon buildup, which Volkswagens can be. Higher octane doesn't mean more energy. Well, it kind of does, but it simply means it's more resistant to knocking. Unless your engine specifically requires premium fuel, you're not really gaining anything by using it. There's some turbocharged or high-performance Volkswagen engines do call for premium. The Hot Rod Golf is one of those, but most standard models are perfectly happy to be on 87 octane gas. In fact, when we did testing, and this I'm dating myself, 5, 6, 7 years ago maybe, at AAA, we brought half a dozen cars into a four-wheel chassis dynamometer at the AAA Automotive Center in California, and we metered out the same kind of gasoline in the same kind of cars, drove the same cycle, and in the vehicles that said they recommended premium fuel but didn't require it, we found no real difference. And this was with normal vehicles, Ford F-150, I think at the time a Chrysler 300, I think a Toyota Camry, just kind of normal vehicles. But we found no real difference in fuel economy, miles per gallon, or horsepower. So most of the time it really doesn't make that much difference. In some cars you will see that it'll say something like, engine horsepower, 300 horsepower with premium fuel, 280 horsepower with regular fuel. We didn't see that. Now, maybe on an engine dynamometer versus a chassis dynamometer, maybe you see that, but we didn't see it at all. So, if your car says recommends and not requires premium, use the 87, save yourself some money. There is, and I've only seen a picture of it so far, but there is a push to use 15% ethanol in gasoline as a way to try to offset fuel prices. Ethanol typically made from corn, which I don't believe is a good idea because corn should be used for food, not gasoline, but that's my personal opinion on that. 15% ethanol is fine in most cars manufactured since the mid-90s. but not all cars. And ethanol tends to wash away stuff. When we switched from something called MTBE, which, as I recall, was methyl tertiary butyl ether, to ethanol. There was a lot of problems with especially things like lawnmowers and snowblowers and stuff like that. The alcohol wasn't good for the fuel lines. It wasn't good if you weren't taking care of your car very well, because the ethanol would wash away a lot of the sludge that was in the fuel system and it would clog stuff up. Really bad for boats because it wasn't good with fiberglass fuel tanks. So it would actually kind of dissolve the fuel tank, and depending on the boat, that meant cutting a big hole in the top of the boat to take the fuel tank out and put a stainless steel one in or aluminum one in. I saw a picture locally of a fuel pump that said contains up to 15% ethanol. My personal opinion is I would try to skip that. I would go to a station that doesn't have that. Normally 15% ethanol has to be noted on the pump. There is a gas station that I didn't stop at on the ride back up here called Sheets, Sheets, and they actually make a point of selling 89 octane, 15% ethanol. My experience has been with ethanol gasoline, fuel economy goes down slightly, and performance, unless your car is tuned for it. If you have a performance car, like a hot rod engine, yeah, they run on ethanol all day long and they run really good on it. But if your car isn't tuned for it, you lose a little fuel economy and you lose a little bit of performance. My little outboard motor says don't use gasoline with more than 10% ethanol. Older cars, not a good idea. For the most part here in the Northeast, the pipeline that we get most of our fuel through said they weren't even going to bother. They were going to keep it at 10% ethanol, and they weren't going to do the 15%. So I don't think we're going to see it much in the Northeast. And there was a window where they were only going to do it for 15 days, and I understand it's been extended another 15 days. Now, whether it gets extended throughout the summer, I don't know. But the EPA has allowed it to be extended another 15 days. So you may see it. My advice would be, unless you drive a brand new car, I would stay away from 15% ethanol. Even though people say it's perfectly fine on any car manufactured since 1991, depends on how you take care of that 1991 car. So there you go. This person said, I recently had an oil change done at a local Walmart. I noticed a technician used a pump to remove the oil through the dipstick tube instead of removing the drain plug. He then replaced the filter, refilled the engine. Is this a new recommended method? No. But it's becoming more common, especially in chains like Walmart and some big tire stores and so forth, because I think there's a concern about liability from stripped drain plugs. Sometimes what happens is somebody damaged a drain plug, they got it back in, maybe they put 2 gaskets on it, some gasket cement, and it didn't leak. And then the next person, unfortunately, goes to take it out, and all things go bad, and either they try to rethread the oil pan, try a self-tapping drain plug, or end up replacing the oil pan. And whose fault is it? It seems, it wasn't leaking before I brought it in, so it must be your fault. Well, maybe not. Maybe it was the fault of the person who did it before. Maybe it was just, I've seen videos and even in person when I was at a car, I was looking in the door at a car dealership, and a guy walks over, looks at the drain plug, and grabs his tire wrench and spins the drain plug out of the drain pan. Now, again, he's taking it out, probably not going to do any damage. Did he put it back in that way? I hope not. But, you can over-tighten them, so no. For marine applications, inboard engines, you can't get to the drain plug, so people pump out oil all the time. I had I think it was like a 10-quart vacuum-style pump You pumped it up. Didn't have a motor on it. You just pumped it up, and you stuck the tube in the dipstick hole and pushed a button, and it would suck the oil out. It worked okay. It was handy for like the lawnmower and stuff. I think I sold it. I gave it away at the yard sale when I moved from Abington. It's okay. I prefer the old-fashioned way. I like to get the oil kind of good and hot and take the drain plug out and gets as much of the old oil out as possible, and any of the contaminants and anything that's in the bottom of the oil pan comes out. Is this way neater? Yeah. Is it safer? Probably. Is it reduced liability from someone saying, you changed the oil in my car and now the drain plug fell out? Yeah, maybe. So it's okay. It's not my favorite way, but it's certainly acceptable. Our phone number is 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. Let's talk to John in Melrose. John, good morning.
Hi, John. The reason I'm calling, I hear you talking about draining the oil through the dipstick or whatever.
Yep.
Now, are there cars or automobiles that is the only way to do it, to drain?
Not that I've seen, but I know some Mercedes models have a special tool to do that, but they don't even have dipsticks, so that kind of rules out. No, I don't think that's. I've never seen any that don't have a drain plug, and that's the only way to do it. Most engines have some sort of drain plug, so no. But it's just another way to do it, and it's okay. I'm just a little bit old fashioned that I like to get as much of whatever's sitting in the bottom of the oil pan as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's certainly.
Okay. My other question is, a friend of mine has a Volkswagen, the big one, the SUV.
Oh, the Atlas, maybe, or
one of the. I'm
yeah.
not sure the exact.
Either
name of it.
the Tiguan's the middle one, and the Atlas
Right.
is the big one. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's a Tiguan.
Okay.
Now he says the only way to change the oil in his is to suck it out through the pipe. And I'm wondering, is he wrong?
Well, let's see. You think it's fairly new, like fairly new one?
Yes,
Right.
it is fairly new.
All right. Well, let's see what service information has to say. Let's see. We'll look. You think it's a Tiguan?
I think it is. What is?
Yep.
What are the other models?
The other one's an Atlas. The Atlas is the bigger one.
All right, so it's not the Atlas. No,
Okay,
I know it's not that.
Yeah. Let's see. See if I see anything that looks like.
I think the filter's above the engine rather than.
Yeah. I mean, that's how. As an example, that's how my wife's Volkswagen is. The filter's above it, which sounds like it would be pretty messy, but it's not.
Yeah.
It actually drains out pretty good.
Right.
No, I don't see anything here that says it doesn't have an oil drain plug. So I think, and it may be like a lot of Volkswagens, they have a big pan that fits underneath the engine. And in the case of my wife's Volkswagen, as an example, there's 16 bolts that hold the pan up under the body of the car. So, so it's a little time consuming to, and because of that,
it might be easy.
It might be easy to suck it up. Exactly. So, that very well could be one of the reasons to do it. But as far as I can tell, and Volkswagen doesn't have a ton of information, but it looks like just a regular.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's been to places that'll change your oil. They strictly change oil.
Yeah.
And they said they charge him. I said you can go to places they charge you $50, $60 to change your oil, and that's all they do.
Yep.
And he says when he goes, they charge him like $100 or a little bit more to do it because they suck it through the pipe. And I said, "Gee, that doesn't make much sense to me." But maybe it did, or maybe it does. But listen to you, it doesn't. You know, it looks like they're looking for that extra couple of bucks. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at. I just looked at. I just Googled, oil drain plugs for Volkswagens, and it's like some Volkswagens since 2003, and this may be the reason, they use a quarter-turn single-use plastic drain plug. So that could be the reason. It still has a drain plug, but you have to throw it away and put a new one in every time.
I see.
So that may be the reason why they're saying that's why they, take it out or whatever. Yeah.
But see, that it doesn't sound like that plug would cost you an arm and a leg either.
No,
not for me.
If you go to VolkswagenParts.com, it costs $3. It costs $3.68.
Yeah, see that?
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a threaded bolt on for the engine oil pan. It says draining engine oil, includes a gasket, whatever. $3. Yeah, I mean, if I was somebody that did Volkswagen services all the time, I'd keep a box of these things around. I know. Throw a new one in. And probably I wouldn't be surprised if one of the reasons was they went to a plastic oil pan because maybe the aluminum or steel oil pan is so easy to strip. They're like, well, if we put a plastic one in, the worst that's going to happen, you got to tighten it up and you got to strip the plastic and not ruin the threads in the oil pan.
Exactly.
So yeah.
True.
So
True.
no.
I'm sorry. The other question is, now do they sell a plug that's magnetized?
I haven't seen those in years, but yeah, that used to be something. It was kind of a J.C. Whitney thing. It was one of those things you could buy at J.C. Whitney, and it was an oil drain plug with a magnet made in the bottom of it. And the idea was it was supposed to collect any of the metal that was falling out of the engine. So when you change the oil, you wipe it off. I don't know. It was kind of a little bit of nonsense, I think. But
you think so, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, sir.
All right. Take care, John.
Answer my questions. Thank
All right.
you. Bye now.
All right. Good enough. Bye-bye. Before we take our next break, for the do-it-yourselfers out there, and maybe, I use, when I try to look things up for people, like I just did, I typically use All Data. And sometimes Mitchell. I like Mitchell for some things. I like All Data for other things. But I use them both. But if you're somebody who likes to work on your own car and you're like, these manuals are, there's standalone manuals. If you can buy them, everything's getting expensive. There is a website, and Jesse and I have discussed https:// whether you really need to use that anymore. Jesse says no. But this one's specific about https:// or / or whatever it's called, lemon-manuals.la. So lemon-manuals.la. And it has basically service manuals for every car that I can think of up to 2025. And it's from 1960 to 2025. I don't know why it exists. Apparently, they have 3 different domains, so where the things are. L.A. is Laos, I think. But they're foreign websites where this stuff is. I've used it. It's pretty good. And I mean, you can look up something like, a pretty normal car. I want to look up information about well, let's see here. I want to look up information about a 2000, we'll call it a 2024 Volkswagen Tiguan, and see what it says about oil changes, repair and diagnosis. I'll do that while we take a break. Why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about this free service, lemon-manuals.la, and see what's there. My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. You're listening on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and buying savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at aaa.com/join. That's aaa.com/join.
On top of home and auto, Progressive protects your boat, RV, and motorcycle so you can explore the unknown.
Actually, we just take the RV to the same campground every year.
Well, maybe you can catch your own dinner on your boat.
Oh, we can actually get pizza delivered there from this brick oven place we love.
Will you at least try a new topping?
Honestly, probably not. We kind of have a go-to order.
Fine. Just bundle home or auto insurance with your outdoor vehicles with Progressive and stay protected when you go, I guess, where you've gone before. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
In a world parched for excitement, one drink will emerge. Twisted Tea, the refreshing thrill ride of flavor. Recreating its classic role as the hard iced tea that goes down smooth. Twisted Tea doesn't just taste like real iced tea, it's made with real brewed tea and a 5% kick of alcohol. Taste the adventure with Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Keep it twisted.
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
Hey there, folks. It's Quinn Kelly reminding you to tune in Sunday night at 5 for the South Shore's first voice in sports talk radio, The Sports Exchange. Unmatched coverage of local high school action as well as a relatable voice on all things Boston pro sports. We've got you covered live at 5 every Sunday night. Have a question for our host, missed last week's show, or just want to share a great sports story? You can find us on Twitter at SE on WATD. But remember, mark your calendar, folks, and we'll see you Sunday night at 5 for the Sports Exchange on 95.9 WATD.
Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program. So I was looking through the Lemon Manuals, odd name to call it, and I looked up 2024 Volkswagen Tiguan 1.4 or 1.5 liter engine, draining oil during first oil change. Remove the old drain plug, install the new one. So there you go. So it has a drain plug, so it does. Again, this is, let's see what it says on the 2-liter engine. Identify used oil collection, use a torque wrench, tells you how to take the oil filter off, and let's read through this. Remove the engine cover, lose the oil filter, wait a few minutes, make sure no oil drips on the engine, use cloths as necessary, tighten the oil filter housing, oil drain plug 30 Newton meters. There you go. Install the new drain plug hand tight using the seal, and then tighten the specified tightening specification. Tighten the new drain plugs all the way. Coat the new plug O-ring with oil beforehand. This is actually a little bit. This has more Volkswagen stuff in it than the service that I pay for. So pretty good. So again, if you're interested and you want to look, there you go. Let's see. Do we get another email through here? And again, I think if I had one of these with the disposable drain plugs, I would do exactly the same. I would just keep a box of them. In fact, I actually, in both of our cars, I think I have a spare drain plug in the Volkswagen and a spare drain plug in the Hyundai. And I like replacing the little gaskets, but I keep a drain plug just in case. In case it doesn't come out and it doesn't look that good, I want to change it. Somebody with a 2019 Kia Sorento, 4-cylinder engine, 6-speed transmission, has got 126,000 miles on it. The owner's manual says never service the transmission, but all the YouTubers say transmission fluid should be changed every 50 to 100,000 miles. The fluid is original. The transmission appears to be working fine. I don't tow anything or regularly drive in traffic. What's your recommendation? I'm the original owner and plan to keep the car for the foreseeable future. I had all the belts, hoses, plugs, and other fluids changed at 100,000 miles. It gets confusing. This lifetime fluid claim causes more confusion than it helps. BMW, for instance, claims it has lifetime fluid, but if you go to the BMW, the people that make the transmission of the BMW, they say change it every 50 or 60,000. Kia considers the fluid lifetime under ideal conditions, but they also outline shorter intervals they call severe service. That includes more driving situations than you really think. In this case, with 126,000 miles on it and the original fluid with no issues, I think I would be a little cautious. I would not do a flush. I would do just basically a drain and refill. And I think that would be all I would want to do. I wouldn't want to do a flush. And other than that, I'd probably leave it alone. Well, that other ding meant apparently whatever I ordered from Home Depot showed up. Free delivery. And it saves me driving a Hyannis. So look at that. Until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car, and if you do see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down or move over. It saves lives. Talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.